Within the realm of LEGO Star Wars, starships need no introduction. From small single-seater interceptors to massive ships in the Ultimate Collector's Series line spanning many thousands of pieces, starships are ubiquitous within LEGO Star Wars. And while I feel every size and scale has its place within the LEGO Star Wars world, my favorite as of late has to be the large play-scale sets. Here we get to see some of the most epic crafts committed to bricks, and they tend to come with a healthy dose of your favorite characters immortalized in minifigure form. Today we will be comparing two such crafts. The Justifier, the trusty ship of infamous bounty hunter Cad Bane, and as seen in the Bad Batch TV show. This set, now retired, was almost universally criticized due to its price-to-piece ratio, which bordered on criminal activity. Up against it, and pretty much the polar opposite, is the Ghost, the faithful craft of Rebel pilot Hera Syndulla, as made famous in Star Wars Rebels, but seen here in Ahsoka format. This set has been almost universally praised by fans, thrilled at another rendition of the Ghost done properly in playscale format. Straight away, before we even get into the box, I want to compare the boxes, noting that the Justifier comes in a significantly larger box, and if we look, it actually also weighs more despite the nearly 400 fewer pieces. But anyways, let's first take a look at the Justifier. We'll pop the seals and dump out the sweet ABS. Protective instructions with minimal stickers. We are treated to 6 building stages. To illustrate just how beefy this is, check out the build after only the first building stage. This is no small amount of large pieces. I also love that they included the massive trans-red panel for the prison cell. And don't worry, we'll check the figs later. And take a look at how they designed this intake type thing for the rear. I love the way that all the tiles are just wedged in between the studs. It looks really cool and it's pretty solid. Stage 2 out of 6 done here. And again, just look at this thing. It's an absolute unit. There's no two ways about it. By the end of bag 4, the wings are attached, and once again, it's huge. Loads of massive pieces and a clever yet simple Technic system to stabilize the wings for landing. Pretty cool. The ship is done, and I actually really like it. It's very big and imposing, as I'm sure you've gathered by now. I think it looks good from most angles, but I'm partial to the landed configuration. It really reminds me of like a flying squirrel or a ray or something, like a stingray. Looks cool. Speaking of configuration though, let's chat about the main feature of this thing. I think it's impressive how LEGO managed to integrate the swinging tail of the Justifier, and the mechanism is really solid. You really feel confident moving it around. Beyond that, the whole craft is just really sturdy. You can grab this thing pretty much anywhere and swoosh it around. Now, there is one large drawback in that around half of the interior is occupied by the Technic beams and gears required for the play feature, but I don't really see another way they could have done it. The feature is integral to the ship. I mean, just imagine an X-Wing where you couldn't adjust the S-foils. It would just be kind of pointless, in my opinion. And I really can't think of a way they could have made it that sturdy and take up less room, so I'm okay with that. Moving on, in my opinion, the minifigures in the Justifier are really good. Omega and Todo 360 are perhaps the weakest, but still perfectly serviceable in my opinion. And while Hunter may be the same as in the Bad Batch shuttle he was previously released, it's still a great minifigure, you can't deny it. He comes with hair as well and double face printing. But the standouts for me are of course Cad Bane and Fennec Shand. While Cad Bane looks very cool, has great printing and the benefit of exclusivity, the standout for me is Fennec Shand. With amazing printing all around, including arms, choice of helmet or hair, and choice of facial expressions, although pretty minutely different, to be honest. I think only like her eyebrows raised, but I like the expression. In any event, they're two of my favorite modern Star Wars bounty hunters, both in one set. And this is naturally subjective, highly subjective, but I love this selection of minifigures. I think they're awesome. Overall, as far as boring gray ships go, I think this one's pretty damn awesome. But let's move on to the Ghost. Bust into the tape, dump it out, and we have a much more colorful build coming our way from the look of things. 13 building stages this time around, again protected instructions, and a few more stickers, unfortunately. So straight away, interestingly, for only 300 additional pieces, we've got more than twice the number of building stages, and quite a few more stickers as well. We'll keep that in mind. Also, straight away, you can tell these are much smaller bags with much smaller pieces in them. I don't know, I built these back to back and it was pretty obvious to me. But enough foreplay, let's build this thing. And straight away, looking in the instructions, we note that the Phantom 2 is built first, supposedly out of this tiny little bag of parts.
Right.
And then the next 12 for the Ghost. We'll see. Beginning with the Phantom 2, I was actually really surprised with how much I enjoyed this build. I feel like when the LEGO design team is asked to pack a lot of detail into a small build, such as in Speed Champions, they really flourish, and the Phantom 2 is a great example of this. It's a great little piece of design, using sideways building, nice coloring, clips, and yes, some stickers. The Phantom 2 is a lovely little appetizer serving to whet your building appetite for your entree, which the chef is preparing as we speak. If I may push this analogy even further down your throat, a great meal should be a journey. Excitement is built in the appetizer, which then crescendos in the entree. Would you not agree? To that end, let's bring out the entree. Let's dig into the Ghost. The build of the Ghost is very different to the Justifier, and I now understand why it's built among the 12 smaller bags rather than the 6 that the Justifier was. To illustrate that point, as I overlay some highlights from the whole process, just know that the whole build is very organic. There aren't any natural breaks in the build. You start with a simple Technic base and will sculpt your model from that base all the way through to the final pages of the 13th building stage. The details throughout are wonderful, and I'm still in awe with how many colors they managed to pack into this starship. I venture to guess, strictly by numbers, this is probably the most colorful LEGO starship that they've ever designed. Now, if I may be so bold, bags 12 and 13 serve as the dessert to our meal. LEGO saved the best figure for last in Hera Syndulla, and the builds for the exhaust, cockpit, and roof are amongst the best in the entire build of the Ghost, in my opinion. We also finished the singular main feature, beside the Phantom 2, in the front-facing lasers, which can be moved left to right. The minifigures for the Ghost, when looked at just in a vacuum, I feel are kind of a little bit lackluster. Hera is excellent, and I wouldn't change much about her, or Chopper for that matter. And while I think that Lieutenant Beta figure is great, they, and along with Hawkins as well, are, to this point in the show, pretty forgettable characters. And finally, I just cannot fathom how the design team got Jason Syndulla's hair wrong. It obviously should be green. That's madness. Comparing these two sets is harder than I initially thought. Before I set out, before I could even see the show on stage, I could hear the crowds chanting, "Ghost, Ghost, Ghost." But on rare occasions, you will witness an opening act that outshines the headliner. An underdog fighting to prove themselves against the favorite. And as I mentioned, I built these two sets in rapid succession, and giving myself that chance to compare them so quickly has lent some pretty interesting perspective. The Ghost and Phantom 2 is an excellent set, I want to make that abundantly clear. If you buy it, you will enjoy it. It is an iconic set with a fun build, and the ship is very fun and colorful, which, let's be honest, is a pretty rare treat when you're looking at starships from LEGO Star Wars. Finally, while the minifigures are slightly middling, they get the job done. And when viewing through the lens of the Ahsoka show, I think they chose the correct characters. Let's not forget that Hera and the Ghost to this point in the show haven't really received that much screen time. The Justifier is a very different story. This ship is niche, quite niche, and it was a bold move for LEGO to use their flagship price point on such a little known and little seen ship from the Bad Batch. And don't get me wrong, I commend the bravery and boldness, but I also understand that this set was up against it from the get-go. Couple that with the very high price to piece ratio, and a lot of people are going to be turned off the set. I completely understand that. But just step back and sit with me in this moment for a while. These are two very comparable sets, and for me at least, I think the Justifier takes it. In a world of constantly regurgitated sets and ideas, the Justifier is something unique, something fresh, and it's very big. It definitely puts the Ghost to shame in that respect. I really want to show my appreciation for the feature as well. The way the tail moves up and down is solid and really well engineered. I feel like LEGO overall is moving in a direction of smaller, more detailed models, as evidenced by the new Star Destroyer they're releasing. But the Justifier is just different. It's big, it's solid, it's kind of old school, it's badass, it's awesome. And you can't deny the cool factor of the Star Wars bounty hunter. Good guys are fine, bad guys are better, but for me, bounty hunters were always the coolest. From Boba Fett to Asajj Ventress to Cad Bane and now to Fennec Shand, I've always loved the cold, quiet outlaw types associated with the bounty hunting way of life. And for my money, this set has two of the best modern bounty hunters in Cad Bane and Fennec Shand. So while I certainly feel happy to have the Ghost in my collection, as I will never shell out for the Rebels variant, my heart goes out to the Justifier. Everyone loves an underdog, and it would appear I am no different. I think that's it. See ya.